Well, 5 rounds have been completed at the candidates tournament, and we have a sole leader in the form of Jan Nepomniachtchi. He has won 2 games, first in round 1 against Anish Giri and now against Wang Hao in round 5. So we are going to look at this game against Wang Hao, but before that I have a story for you. This dates back to 2009 when I was playing against Grandmaster Alexander Fominyh, and it I was playing with the black pieces. In this game, what I'm about to show you may help you to understand what we are going to talk about in much better depth. So my opponent played d4 here, and it was my move, and I played knight a6 in the game. So my opponent I took and played queen c2, and I started feeling slightly uncomfortable in this position because he had this rook coming in, the other rook could come to c1. Somehow he had uh, more opportunities in the position. I managed to somehow equalize here. Again, I missed this move, by the way, and I could draw the game because of my active pieces. And it was a good result for me. I was rated around 2270. My opponent was 2485. And a few months later, I came in touch with a grandmaster. His name was Jesse Cry, and I really loved listening to his lectures. He used to talk at this website called chesslecture.com, and I used to listen to him. And somehow, being a reader, being a viewer there was some contest or something where I had to send in my game, and if they liked it, they would make a video, and I sent this game of mine. But I made sure that I put some annotations, and I said that to d4 I didn't like my move knight a6. I should have played cd, queen d4, knight d4, takes, and knight a6, and I said this would be equal. Now when Jessica I got this game, I guess he got it from several people. He decided to make the video on this game of mine, and on this position he gave quite some time. He spoke quite a bit about it, and he said that after cd, queen d4, bg2, king g2, knight a6, there is no way in the world that this position is equal. And well, when I was young, I used to feel like, look, these are the 4 pawns here. White has 2 pawns. Black also has 2 pawns. The pawn structure is symmetrical. You will put your rook here. I'll put my rook here. You put your rook here. And I somehow was naive enough to feel like this position is just equal. But as it so happened that and this video played a pivotal role in increasing my understanding, because I started to take things more seriously. And one of the important things which Jesse Cry mentioned was that when the structures are symmetrical, activity counts for a lot more than usual. The reason being that once the structures are symmetrical, to create play is very difficult for the defending side, because there are no pawn breaks in the position. So he showed the game of Smyslov. He's a big Smyslov fan, against Benko, which went rook c8, rook c1, knight d7, rook f d1, knight c5, b4, knight a4, and you will see how white is causing many problems to black. Like now he will take and perhaps take on a7, or he may take and jump in with rook d7. So all these little problems are not so easy to solve, and the end was very beautiful. So I'm just going to show you that, because it ended in a nice mating net here. It seemed like black is running away, but now came the powerful move. White to play. Try to pause the video and think, what would you do? Yes, well done if you found the move king f1, attacking the rook, and next move you want to play f4, and there is no stopping rook f7 mate. So the exchange had to be sacrificed, and white went on to win. So with this knowledge in mind, let's look at Nepomniachtchi's game, who began with e4, and his opponent Wang Hao, who is well known for the Petroff defense, did play it. And now you will see that how the structure is symmetrical. You have 4 pawns and 3, and black also has 4 pawns and 3, so you may say it's drawish, but now you know that activity is very important. So even here, after pieces are exchanged, you must keep in mind that white is slightly more active because of the bishop here, and this bishop not being very active, this knight being slightly on the side, and all these factors add up to giving white a decent small edge. Of course, this has been played several times. I think one of the important games in this line is Anand Yuyangi. Also, Anand Vidit is an important game. But no one had played the move h4 here, what Nepo played. His idea was to jump here with his knight and create some threats. Now, if you take this pawn, of course, you're going to lose a piece with bd6, so that's not possible. Knight c7 was played, and after knight g5 takes f6, bishop f4, and we come to this position where again Nepo makes this very nice decision to take and put his knight to f5, queen d7, queen h3, and it all, although pieces are being exchanged, you will see that white has the more active knight, the pawn here, the queen, and for black to create some play is extremely difficult. And that's the reason why Nepomniachtchi has a advantage here, but black can of course defend with accurate play. He played this move g4, which is slightly committal, but it's the style of Nepo. He likes to play aggressively. A4 is also a good move, trying to gain space on the other wing. Okay, g4, a6, and now just take some time and try to find what would you do here as white. Nepo was very sure that white has a very strong move here, and yes, it's a nice move, and I would like to you to find it. Okay, so there are several options in this position. You may even try to bring your queen to g3 and try to create some play on this side. But what was, I mean, what black wants to do is get his king in. That's clear. So the right move is the very prophylactic move, king f1, and it's very interesting because, well, one thing is that if queen comes to e6, it can no longer jump in and give a check. So that is one very nice thing of king f1. Now queen h2, I can just go inside. The other one being, if you go with your normal plan king g8, I can go g5, which is a strong move, once again threatening check. And if you go king h8, which is not so easy, you come back and you go. Then I go queen a3, threatening a checkmate here. And if you come back, I have a check. King f8 looks like the only move. If you go king f7, I go g6, takes, king e6, maybe knight f5, and already this is just a very dangerous position for black. Takes, loses the queen, and if you don't go king f7, if you play king f8, then I can already play g6, and first of all this is hanging here, and if you take, then I can take with the knight. So all of these things create a lot of problems. And king f1, another point being that if you go queen f7 here, then white has g6, and this is very nice because after takes you lose the game. You can't take this pawn, there's a check, and if the king were on g1, then queen into g6 would have lost with a check. So that's how king f1 was a nice move. Nepo didn't like the move b3, as we saw in one of the lines. Queen could jump to a3, now it blocks the path, but he had a idea in mind, which was to play here h6, g6. By the way, also black should have thought about playing h6 here to stop this, some kind of a mating net that is created after this. This is always a strong pawn, as we have seen also in Caruana Nepomniachtchi yesterday. Now take some time, try to think what would you do here as white. You need to create some play once again. It's not so simple, but I think it's very nice. So the right move is c4, and you are giving up a pawn, but this is again brilliant calculation. In the game, Wang Hao didn't take, he played king g8 here. But what happens if you take the pawn? If you take it, then try to calculate. Yes, takes, and now comes the very nice move, queen h2. And this is very nice because if you played queen g3, then I have a check and I can win this pawn here. But because I play queen h2, if you give a check, I just go king g2. There are no more checks, and I can start penetrating inside, and I'll win the pawns. So queen h2 wins the game. These are these little variations, very accurate calculations which have to be done to win such positions. Maybe king g8 was possible, but after take queen f3, it's not so simple. The computer suggests to give up a pawn here for black, and it's still defending, but for humans it's never easy. So Wang Hao took and played king g8, but now queen h2 threatening c5. He played c5, knight to b5. I guess there knight e4. There is some merit to this move because after check, sorry, queen b8, queen takes a2 is strong. Uh, it might seem like you're losing a pawn with a check, and this pawn is very strong, but you have your counterplay against the f2 pawn. It's complicated, but this was one chance that black had. Wang Hao played knight b5, but after queen b8, you can see how this pawn, queen, this pawn grabbing space, the knight nicely placed on e3 are all creating so much problems. Queen e7 was, I think, the best move, and after king e6, you have to defend with knight c2, and white is having an edge for sure here. But queen d7 was a mistake, and Nepo was able to take very good advantage of it. So white to move. Yes, queen h8. This is a great move, and the point is after king e6, what do you do next? There are two strong moves. Nepo played f4, but also g5 is very powerful because after takes you have knight g4, creating a lot of problems. But f4 is great because now you have the clear threat of f5. Knight takes d4 could be was played in the game. Of course, if you take with the queen, this is a mate. But knight d4, queen g8, queen f7, queen c8 check, queen d7 check. Well, the point is if you go king e7, then I give a check and I win your knight. So queen d7 check, queen f7, and now find the winning move. You don't want to keep repeating. Queen d8, good move, threatening queen d6, and also the knight on d4. If you try to defend with knight b5, I have a4, and so queen d7 was the only move. But after f5, takes, knight f5, you win a knight, and after king e6, there's a nice finish actually. Knight e3, Wang Hao resigned. Black has two pawns and could try to win another pawn if he can dislodge the knight from here. But the problem is that after f5, king f2, f4, the knight goes to g4, and when you try to win that pawn, the knight goes and wins this pawn, which is just too quick. So h6 pawn finally wins the game. I hope that through this small 15-minute video, you are able to understand the importance of activity and initiative in symmetrical structures. With my game against Fominyh, with Smyslov game against Benko, and now Nepomniachtchi's game against Wang Hao, and that you will like openings like exchange Slav, exchange French, not like, but at least you will understand them better. So this is Sagar Shah signing off. I'll be back with more videos from the candidates.